Have you ever stopped to think about what happens when those who are supposed to maintain order become the very agents of chaos? In Greek mythology, Gaia, Mother Earth, embodies natural balance, while the Olympian gods, led by Zeus, assume absolute control over the cosmos. But what if that control begins to corrupt harmony? Gaia, tired of the gods' arrogance, decided to take an extreme measure. And this is where we begin to realize that sometimes the greatest enemy of order is not outside it, but at the heart of those who control it. Have you ever felt like this? As if the forces meant to protect you were actually oppressing you? Gaia not only thought about this but acted. She knew the imbalance created by the gods could not continue, and the solution she found to restore order was more radical than anyone could imagine. By creating Typhon, a monstrous creature, Gaia took the first step in challenging the power she deemed abusive. But what drove Mother Earth to turn against the gods themselves? And more importantly, how did this decision change the fate of Olympus and the entire universe? Get ready for a journey of epic proportions, where not even the gods are untouchable. Gaia, Mother Earth, had always been known for her wisdom and ability to balance the world. However, even the wisest beings can grow tired of injustice. And so it was with Gaia, when she saw the Olympian gods ruling everything with arrogance. She, being the very heart of the planet, felt it was time to create something that would bring balance back, something that could challenge the absolute power of the gods and remind everyone that even they had limits. Imagine the Earth as a mother who, seeing her children abusing their power, decides to create something new to teach them a lesson. But this something was not just a lesson. It was a being that would change the course of history, a colossal being created in the depths of the earth itself, where the forces of nature are most powerful and uncontrollable. Gaia knew that Zeus, the leader of the gods, would never expect such a monstrous creature to be born from the very planet they believed was under their control. And thus, Typhon emerged, a force of nature that would make the gods tremble. When we talk about Typhon, we are talking about something that still echoes in legends today, a creation that challenged divine order. Have you ever wondered how something so powerful could be created with such deep motivation? Gaia, as a mother, sought more than just shadows. She wanted to restore the balance that had been lost. This decision was the beginning of a series of events that would test even the mightiest of the gods. And this is just the beginning of the story. After the Titanomachy, Gaia was in complete disagreement with the outcome. She saw her children, the Titans, defeated and subdued by the Olympian gods, led by Zeus. It wasn't just a matter of wounded pride but of justice. To her, what Zeus represented was an imbalance in the natural order of things. When a figure of power becomes so dominant, compensatory balance is lost. So, Gaia made a bold decision to create a monster that could not only challenge Zeus but potentially destroy him. It is interesting to observe how Gaia, the mother of all, was not simply seeking revenge. She wanted to restore the harmony she believed had been broken. To do this, she channeled all her energy and anger into the creation of Typhon. This monstrous being wasn't just a whim of power, but rather a symbol of her frustration with the gods' domination. It is almost as if, by creating Typhon, Gaia was trying to teach a lesson. Absolute power, without limits, can be dangerous even for the gods. This was her way of showing that even the most powerful accomplishments were not above the natural order. Gaia's motivation is not so different from the lessons we learn in our own lives. Often, when we notice injustice or wrongdoing in our surroundings, whether at work, in relationships, or in society, we feel the need to act. And, just like Gaia, some of the best actions come from the pursuit of restoring harmony, not from anger but from justice. This makes us wonder, what are we doing to restore the imbalances around us? Gaia knew that to create something powerful enough to challenge Zeus, she would need help. And who better to collaborate with than Tartarus, the ancient deity of the underworld? He was the personification of the deepest, darkest parts of the earth, a place even the gods feared to tread. Together, Gaia and Tartarus secretly planned, creating a dark and safe environment for Typhon to grow, far from the curious eyes of the gods. This collaboration between Earth and the underworld united two primordial forces, an alliance that would bring devastating consequences to Olympus. Tartarus was no ally. His essence represented chaos and disorder, exactly what Gaia needed to fuel Typhon's destructive power. And for years, they kept this secret, while Typhon grew stronger and stronger, deep within the earth. This kind of collaboration between two seemingly opposite forces, like the underworld and the earth, is a clear example of how, sometimes, an unlikely union can produce surprising results. In real life, this is also reflected in unexpected partnerships that can change the course of history. This strategy of hiding and nurturing something until it's strong enough is a valuable lesson. How many times do we see projects, ideas, or even plans being developed in silence, far from critical eyes, until they are ready to emerge with full force? Gaia and Tartarus knew that patience and secrecy were essential to Typhon's success. And here, once again, we see that great achievements often begin in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to emerge. Typhon was not just a colossal creature. He was a nightmare incarnate. With his body covered in serpents, he exhaled poisonous gases that could suffocate even the purest air. With every step he took, the earth shook, showing that it wasn't just his size that terrified, but also his ability to cause destruction on an unimaginable scale. His strength was unparalleled, and his multiple snake-like heads spewed fire, ready to devour anything in his path. There was no doubt, Typhon was a threat even the gods feared. What's fascinating about Typhon is how his monstrous nature reflected the chaos Gaia wanted to bring to Olympus. He was the embodiment of imbalance in the form of a creature, challenging any notion of order the gods tried to maintain. It's almost as if Typhon was the personification of what happens when power becomes too concentrated in a single entity. Something as terrifying as him emerges to restore balance. This concept of chaos as an agent of change is something we can observe in everyday life. When things spiral out of control, it is often chaos that forces us to find new solutions. It is important to remember that, as terrifying as Typhon was, he also carried a greater purpose. His existence was not just for destruction, but to serve as a reminder that no order is permanent. In mythology, he represented the force of change, something everyone would face at some point in life. Just like him, sometimes we need to embrace chaos to overcome obstacles and reach a new balance. And what comes next in the story promises to be even more impactful. As Typhon grew in size and power, the moment of truth finally arrived. He ascended Mount Olympus, challenging the gods on their sacred ground. Imagine the terror that spread among the gods as they saw such a colossal creature approaching, causing earthquakes with every step. Many of the gods, even with their immense powers, trembled with fear before this threat. But Zeus, the undisputed leader, knew he could not flee or show weakness. The battle that was about to take place would be a turning point in divine history. The confrontation between Zeus and Typhon was decisive. With Olympus at stake, Zeus stood his ground, facing the monstrous being with the courage only a leader of the gods could have. Zeus's lightning bolts crossed the sky, while Typhon advanced with his serpent heads, spewing fire and venom. It was an epic battle, worthy of being etched into the eternal memories of mythology. This clash between divine power and chaotic force was more than just a simple fight. It was a demonstration that even the most imposing forces of the cosmos were in constant conflict. This battle is not just something from mythology. It reflects the struggles we all face at some point in our lives. When challenges seem too great, like Typhon, that is when we need to find inner strength to face them head-on. And Zeus, with all his determination, showed that even when the opponent seems invincible, true strength lies in not retreating. But the battle was far from over, and what followed showed that not all the gods were willing to fight until the end. When Typhon advanced on Mount Olympus, fear took hold of most of the gods. Even those who once seemed confident now saw up close the true magnitude of the monstrous being, and instead of facing him, they chose a quick exit, fleeing. Many of the gods retreated to Egypt, fearing for their lives. But the curious thing about this retreat was the way they disguised themselves. Each god took the form of an animal, attempting to hide from Typhon and his destructive claws. This moment of desperation was so significant that some believe it gave rise to images of Egyptian gods with animal-like characteristics. This retreat by the gods reflects how, even among the most powerful, fear can influence decisions. They knew they were not prepared to face Typhon at that moment, and fleeing was the most logical choice. However, this raises an interesting question. What does it really mean to be strong? Sometimes, recognizing the time to retreat can be the smarter action. And although their decision might have seemed cowardly, history shows that, eventually, it would prove to be a strategic withdrawal. In life, we are often confronted with situations where temporarily fleeing can give us time to plan for a future victory. And while the gods were far away, disguised, one god stayed behind. Zeus had no option to flee. He knew that, to restore order, he had to face Typhon head-on. But this would not be a simple battle, and Zeus would soon realize that even the most powerful of gods sometimes needs help. And that's when Hermes stepped in to rescue Zeus and help turn the tide. While the other gods hid in Egypt, Zeus stood firm, knowing that the fate of Olympus was in his hands. However, even the most powerful god can be caught off guard. In the heat of battle, Typhon managed to immobilize Zeus and, in an act of pure brutality, tore off his limbs, leaving him vulnerable. The Lord of the Gods, who had always been seen as invincible, was now at the mercy of a creature that seemed unbeatable. Imagine the tension of this moment, with Olympus without its leader and Typhon roaming freely. But Zeus was not alone in this journey. Hermes, the messenger of the gods, always agile and cunning, sprang into action to rescue Zeus. With skill and discretion, he managed to recover Zeus's limbs, preparing him for a counterattack. This moment was decisive because it showed that even the strongest need help at some point. In life, we all experience moments where we feel our resources have been stripped away, whether physically or emotionally. In those moments, the help of allies becomes essential. Zeus, now restored, knew the battle was far from over, but he needed a new strategy. With the help of Hermes and the Fates, he began to devise a plan. A plan that involved not just brute force but also intelligence and cunning. The big question now was, how do you defeat a creature that seems immortal? The answer to that would come in the next clash. Hermes had always been known for his speed and intelligence, and these qualities were crucial at the most critical moment of the battle. Seeing Zeus immobilized and without his limbs, Hermes didn't hesitate. He knew that without Olympus' leader, the gods were doomed. So, with the help of the Fates, Hermes devised a clever plan. He managed to sneak into Typhon's lair and recover Zeus's limbs, restoring the god's strength. Hermes' actions were not just a rescue. They were a signal that cunning can often outmatch brute force. The partnership between Hermes and the Fates is a great example of how, in moments of crisis, unexpected collaborations can make all the difference. The Fates, the goddesses of destiny, used their knowledge to help Hermes deceive Typhon, creating distractions and manipulating the right timing for the rescue to succeed. In life, we all face situations where creativity and collaboration with others are key to overcoming challenges. And that's why surrounding yourself with people who think strategically can be so important. With Zeus restored, the battle was still not won, but there was now a light at the end of the tunnel. Hermes and Zeus knew they would need to weaken Typhon before any final attack. And so, with tricks and the help of the Fates, they executed a plan that would culminate in the final confrontation. The remaining question was, how do you defeat a creature that seems invincible? The decisive moment was approaching. With Typhon weakened by Hermes' tricks and the assistance of the Fates, Zeus knew it was time to deliver the final blow. The epic battle between the leader of the gods and the primordial monster reached its climax, with lightning cutting through the sky and Typhon roaring in pain and fury. But Zeus didn't waver. He used all his strength and divine power to unleash a series of powerful lightning bolts on the monstrous being, wounding him deeply. It was as if nature itself was responding to Zeus's call, while Olympus watched in anticipation. However, victory would not come without sacrifices. Even in his final moments, Typhon was still a threat. His snake-like heads tried to grab Zeus, but the leader of Olympus proved superior. He not only managed to defeat Typhon, but also trapped him under Mount Etna. a place where his fury would be contained but never fully extinguished. To this day, when fire takes reign, it is believed that Typhon is trying to escape his confinement. This detail connects mythology to natural phenomena we still observe in the modern world. The conclusion of the battle reminds us that no matter how powerful the adversary, there is always a way to overcome them with combined strategy and strength. Zeus showed that while brute force is important, intelligence and persistence are the true keys to victory. And so, Olympus could breathe a sigh of relief. But Typhon's story continues to live on in legends. What we can learn from this fight is that even after a great victory, the balance of the world can still be fragile. Now that you know the true story of the conflict between Gaia and the gods, it's impossible not to reflect on the power of nature and the impact of imbalance. Just as Gaia challenged Olympus, we also face our own imbalances, whether at work, in relationships, or in our health. The question remains, what are you doing to restore your own balance? Are you waiting for external forces to correct the course? Or will you take action, like Gaia, taking control of the situation? The lesson here is clear. Even the most powerful can be challenged when balance is broken. Now it's time to apply that knowledge to your life. Where is the imbalance that you need to adjust? What can you do today to regain control? Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think. And if this type of content resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep learning more about the stories and lessons of mythology. After all, knowledge only has value when it's put into practice.